Hello, everybody. My name is Zach Baumstein, and this is Zach Wilcox.
Hello.
This is our manager leader interview, and we chose to do a manager. So, yeah, you can go ahead, Zach. The manager that we chose was a gentleman by the name of Mason. He did consent to give us his name. And the store that he works at is Papa John's Pizza, and that is indeed in Boone, North Carolina. So the first question that we thought was important was how does he define bad and good management? And our interview defined good management as getting the best out of yourself and everybody who you are managing. And I think that's a really important definition. There are a lot of small details associated with what would be considered good management, but I feel like this definition just does management as a whole justice. And then conversely, he said bad management is failing to get the best out of people you're managing. And he also states that poor employee performance is also usually a sign of bad management. So the next question we asked was how he identified conflict and how he handled the conflict once he identified it. So he said conflict can be a lot of things. I identify conflict as anything that keeps you from being able to do your job the normal way. And he said he solves said conflicts depending on the situation. He figures out the source of the conflict and does his best to eliminate the source of it. And also being a worker in food service, I can relate to the fact that the conflict can be a lot of different things, and you have to take a very precise approach to sometimes handling a lot of different conflicts that can arise. So I think he's got it spot on there. And then what is the most challenging part of your job? That was the next question we asked him. And he said it was the uncertainty of it. My restaurant is subject to situations that arise unexpectedly, sometimes complicating hourly operations, even when a solid plan is set in place. And that is very true. Kind of relates to what we were talking about with conflict in the previous slide. There are a lot of different things that can arise in food service, whether that be customer complaints or equipment malfunctioning or even an employee calling in sick. It's really challenging, but you just have to learn to adapt to certain things, and they can be disrupting even when a plan is set in place. So now on to Zach's portion of the presentation.
All right. So, what are your day-to-day responsibilities? Was the question we asked him, and he replies with, "My day-to-day responsibilities include counting inventory of all products in the store, handling conflict with customers and employees, and the supervision of all activities conducted on my shift, both inside and outside the store." And this kind of goes to what he was saying with bad production is attributed to the manager, because they're not only in charge of making sure their employees are doing what they want and that the customers are happy, but they're also in charge of making sure that the supervision of activities like prepping for the next shift so that they can have a productive shift, or like maybe even just making sure that the shift changes go correctly and that he's communicating with the next manager. And that, those are just some important responsibilities that get forgotten along the way with, just being a manager that's involved. What are a few things you enjoy most about your job? He said, "I enjoy all the different types of people I work with. Coming into contacts with lots of people and personalities always keeps the job interesting." And I can agree. When I was working in food, and I was a cook, but I loved being on the register because it was great interacting with those people. You get some of those ornery people, but most of the time you get a lot of really happy, smiley people who know that sometimes you're not having the best of day, and sometimes even they try to cheer you up, which is kind of your job, but it's really refreshing when somebody comes in and they try to make your day better, even though that's kind of your job to do, because they know that, maybe you're having a bad day and maybe the last customer just cussed you out for 5 minutes straight or something. Those are the people that really, those are the personalities that keep the job interesting. You never know what you're going to get when somebody walks through that door and you're taking the order, or you never know if they're going to be mad about something. So it's always an interesting thing. What characteristics do you need for your job position? I really love the word adaptability, and Zach used this earlier in the presentation. It's a great word to use. He said you have to be adaptable. You have to have an easygoing personality, the ability to roll with the punches. You have to be able to deal with sudden changes, stressors, and frustrations. And that's kind of the whole point of the adaptability, is you have to be able to see a problem, adapt to how to fix it because you may have never even encountered it before, and then just deal with it and figure out a way to make everything just diffuse the tense situation, in his own words. So those are definitely characteristics that I'd agree are very heavily needed. What is the most rewarding part about your career? He says now that he's in a position of management, it makes it infinitely possible to grow. There's a lot of opportunity for additional growth and job security, and that's basically what he means here. Is just like as a regular employee, not a manager, you could easily call out a couple times and get fired, or mess up and get fired. But managers have a little bit more job security because it's a little bit harder to replace them. Those are usually the guys that have been in it for a while, several years of experience, know what they're doing. But if you have to replace a manager, you have to retrain a person, and it's just a whole process. So job security is there, and he could always move up if he's doing a great job, because the store running great is going to be a reflection of the management. And as an employee, a lower employee, it doesn't always work that way. You can do a great job on your shift, but maybe the manager gets credit. So he has an opportunity to grow in that way. So that concludes our manager project. If you guys have any questions, maybe something that was unclear or anything you guys want to talk about in the discussion section, just let us know and we'll be happy to reply.